First thing on quick hits is Miami Beach is cracking down on spring break. Take a look.
All right, now it's 6. A first tonight from Miami Beach city leaders. They're telling spring breakers to consider a different destination.
Spring break is still weeks away, but the city is already taking drastic steps to limit the crowds and prevent the kind of violence we've seen there before. CBS News Miami's Joan Murray details the changes that are coming.
William Daniels runs Party Cart Miami, part taxi, part tour guide. He works and lives on Miami Beach and knows a thing or two about spring break.
And it gets loud, so, to sleep some nights, 4 in the morning, you hear a lot of yelling and screaming.
Who can forget Miami Beach Spring Break 2023? 2 fatal shootings, a state of emergency, and dozens of arrests.
The stampedes, the shooting, the destruction of our businesses, the overturning of tables, the patrons having to hide in the restaurants, employees hiding under tables. The unlawful behavior is ending, and it's ending this year.
City commissioners greenlighting big spring break changes. The entire month of March, limited beach entry, checkpoints on the beach, huge increases in law enforcement, higher parking rates, double the towing rate, and traffic plans for neighborhoods. During the busiest weekends, DUI checkpoints and license plate readers on the causeways. And if you park, it's looking like $100 a day.
We are going to make it more difficult to have the level of crowds that we've seen that have caused us problems.
William Daniels says closing streets will hurt his business, but he is in favor of change.
It's sometimes too crazy where, even too many people want to jump on and act crazy, but am I in favor? I guess I'm in favor of more control, but not really, stopping the party or keeping people from enjoying South Beach.
So they basically have to balance the idea of making money with everybody coming down there and tearing everything up. Couple different thoughts from this. The first thing is most people that live in Miami don't really go to Miami Beach anyway. So Miami Beach largely is a tourist destination and is there for people that make money and business owners. So I do think that more people in Miami need to become tourists in their own city because a lot of them don't even be knowing what's going on in their city. If you ask them, they just know about some of the local spots that they go to, but a lot of them is not familiar with what's happening throughout the entire city, right? And I want to also remind people that Miami Beach is completely different from Miami, all right? On top of that, when is spring break? End of March, beginning of April? I don't go to Miami Beach during spring break or anything like that. I don't like to be around in that. Usually when my daughter is on spring break, and obviously she's not going to Miami Beach, we like to hit Biloxi. So we like to stay out the way. I think that Biloxi is really, really cool. It's low-key. It's dope. It's got great people. It's got a real community feel to it. I like to stay at the Beau Rivage, which is basically a smaller version of the Bellagio in Vegas. They got a dope scene. They got dope views. They got a great pool. It's a cool vibe. It's a lot, the people are a little bit older, a lot more mature. So my spot to go to when I'm vacationing over in April, and I actually am plan on going to Biloxi in April, is Biloxi, Mississippi. So Biloxi, Mississippi is my spot. It's one of my favorite places to visit. Also, on top of Biloxi, Mississippi, I also like Pittsburgh a lot, but I go to Pittsburgh in the summer. So I got some off-the-cuff spaces, not just the most popular places that people go to, not the New York, the Miami, the LA. I like to go to Biloxi. I like to go to Pittsburgh. And there's some other spots that I like to hit. So shout out to the people down there in Miami and Miami Beach. Y'all going to have y'all hands full. And then the Airbnb prices and the hotel prices skyrocket during that time also. So it's during spring break and it's during the winter months, during the holiday season where you usually see outrageous prices. Even at the condo that I stayed at, and I stayed in Hollywood, Florida this time, I paid a lot of money. I think I paid like $9 grand for 10 days or something like that. So the prices is crazy down there. But anyways, that's what's going on in Miami Beach. They're cracking down on spring breakers. Also, on top of that, they started to break down the cost of what it takes for us to pay for migrants, whether they're going or leaving Chicago. Check it out.
We're calling it the double migration. Asylum seekers coming to Chicago, mostly from Texas, at a sizable cost to government agencies, and then going from Chicago to somewhere else. The ABC7 I-Team asked state officials for how many migrants are coming and going. Our investigation with the ABC7 data team tonight revealing this double migration, the coming and going, is running up the tab for a crisis that already caught Illinois by surprise and continues to stretch government resources and finances. Migrants have been flown into Illinois from Texas, expelled by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and they have been bussed here by the thousands from the border zone. People fleeing their homeland have become points of political contention, sides of humanitarian debates, and figures on government ledgers. Tonight, even as more asylum seekers arrive here, some continue to leave. The I-Team filed an open records request to find out how many migrants are leaving Illinois, what that costs, and who's paying. Migrant travel costs in the Chicago area, people leaving by bus, plane, and train, total more than $775,000. And when additional travel-related expenses, such as ride shares, are factored in, it's almost $850,000 taxpayer money for migrants to move out of Chicago. 4,327 have now come and gone, more than 10% of the migrants sent to Chicago.
The Texas government will put migrants on a plane, let them, tell them that Chicago is this great place to come, which it is. But they're saying, this is what Chicago is going to do for you. And then when they get here, they kind of see that what was told to them in Texas is not accurate.
So the idea is that we basically are spending an endless amount of money in a loop to have these people go to all of these different places. And now they're starting to move to different spaces throughout the United States of America. They're going to Seattle, they're going to Arizona, they're going to Boston, they're going to Detroit, they're going to DC, they're going to New York, they're going to Atlanta. And so now they're starting to spread out. So it's not just, it's a problem for Texas and Denver and Chicago and New York. Now it's starting to basically become a problem for the entire United States of America. And we're not really totaling up the cost of what it's taking us to actually fly these people and bus these people all around the country and then also support them. So I'm not in support of this whole open border policy that we already advocated for literally years ago in order to close off our border so we can monitor who's coming and who's going into the United States of America, because I do believe that immigration can be good, but it has to be legal immigration, not illegal immigration disguised as asylum seekers, when anybody is basically just coming over here whenever they feel like it. They coming over here pregnant, they having their children, they becoming American citizens, they getting fake licenses, they obviously beating up police officers over in New York, crime is spiking all across the country. People are absolutely positively pissed at it, regardless of what side of the fence that you on as far as where you stand on for your political leanings. And we're just now starting to get an account for what this is costing us, as though we wasn't already under duress, as though we already didn't have inflation, as though we already wasn't running up the national debt. But for whatever reason, people still feel like they need to stand on the side of the people that's making sure that they advocate for this crisis to continue to go forward. So I'll keep an eye on it, obviously, like I always have been. And then last but not least, gender change on Florida licenses is starting to become a hot topic issue because Florida is standing up for something. Take a look.
From now on, your Florida driver's license must show the sex you were assigned at birth. The Florida agency overseeing all DMVs has told employees they can no longer alter a driver's gender, changing course from previous years. The change went into place last week with a memo saying there is not a Florida statute that's in place right now supporting allowing transgender Floridians to make this change on their license. This rule also carries potential criminal charges for those who misrepresent the sex that they were assigned at birth. There's currently a bill moving through the state legislature which would also change gender on licenses to sex. Under Florida statute, that is the sex that you were assigned at.
So this person right here was at the forefront of a movement because it started this big old thing where this person, that's just what I'm going to say, I'm going to just say this person, was pissed, biologically born a male, and was pissed because they forced this person that was assigned the male birth at, or male at birth, again, biologically born a male, was forced to remove all of their makeup in order to take their license photo. And then that caused a big uproar and brouhaha. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to move legislation across the United States through to where you can basically identify as whatever it is that you want to identify. And you can also put that on your license. And so, in addition to the fact that they beating y'all up in women's sports, that a lot of these people are having surgery up to the point to where sometimes just by the naked eye you can't always tell who they are, shaving their Adam's apples off. Now it's starting to become an issue to where they want to be identified that way when they get their license. Doesn't matter how deep your voice is, don't matter what kind of makeup that you put on, don't matter what you was biologically assigned at birth. Florida is saying that, listen, what you show on your license at birth needs to be what you were born biologically, regardless of whatever it is that you look like or what kind of hormone treatments you taking or whether you chopped your stuff off. What was you assigned at birth? That's what we want you to have on your license. And now this is becoming a fight. And so amongst all of the other things that we're distracted by what's happening with abortions, Supreme Court, death penalty, migrant crisis, inflation, layoffs. UPS just laid off 12,000 people right after approving his contract, and people was acting like they was getting to the bag. You got a president, you got a Fulton County DA that's finessing. We're going to get into that shortly. You got rent moratoriums ending all across the United States of America. We're going to get into that also, including over in LA where people haven't paid rent in up to 3 years. It's a lot that's going on across the United States of America. So all I will say to you guys is make sure that you keep your ears peeled. Make sure you stay subscribed over here to the Millionaire Morning Show. I'm going to bring y'all up to speed and up to date on what's going on across the country. And it is the greatest morning show and news show, especially with regard to how it comes back to the money on the face of the planet. And this right here, when y'all said, you know what, it really don't matter, it ain't our business. When you open up the door and you open up Pandora's box, it's very, very difficult to stuff that thing back in there. You're not getting it back in the box. We never going back to the way that things were because we never stood up for what was meaningful. And everybody started leaning into this liberal idea of you being able to do and then change the laws to however it fits your agenda. And then once people start gathering together, you start seeing things change, similar to what we did with the feminist movement. And now you have the feminist movement being upset by what's happening with the alphabet community movement. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that is your quick hits.